Ketron voices, Ketron event voices, and Ketron SD90 or SD series of arranger keyboard voices. I didn't get any new information about Ketron voices, but by looking at picture and by reading a manual that I gave you in my previous video, and by looking at SD90 in front of me, I think I got idea what is happening there, and I will share that idea with you, share that knowledge that I think it is going to be so in that Ketron. Let me switch camera. What do we have now presently in SD series of Ketron keyboards? We already have two voices in Ketron SD series of the keyboard. We have voice that we can choose by pressing on voice, and then we can choose family of the voices, synths, accordions, guitars, or whatever we choose. We can choose it, and then we can choose voice, whatever we want to choose. We can add second voice if we want to. And let us analyze presently what is first voice and second voice in SD90. Let us open voice by holding one of those voice, and we will see it is combination of three sound. And it is second voice down. It means four sounds. We can have four sounds for right hand, for solo section. So three sounds here, and second sound that could be only one sound that we can choose. So whenever we press on any of those voices, we will go to voices and we can choose voices from internal memory or user voices. For example, if I press organ and if I move this and okay, let me see accordion, because I don't have any user organ. But accordion, I have my user accordion. Guarini Oro Elegant, basson, Guarini Oro Elegant, clarinet, Guarini Oro Elegant, soprano, and so. Those are my user voices. If I go here back, I have my factory voices. So there, on this voice section, I can use one of my user voices or factory voices. Now, if I exit from there, you can see I have my master Guarini accordion, so I can engage that and I can add to this voice, so I can make combinations of three voices. I can have insert effect on them. I can have control volume, reverb, shift, tune, pan, chorus. So when I go to next page, I can control some other stuff. So go through all those pages and you will see what you can control. You have 6 pages with variety on functionality, what you can control for each voice separately. You can engage voice, disengage voice. So you can mix them with controller, for example, like I'm doing, and you can choose if you want to switch from one voice to another. You can choose, is that going to be first voice or second voice? And then you can use your pedal and you can switch from one voice to another voice when you play. Right away, if you are busy with your hands, you can switch from one voice to another voice. Now, you can make your voice, you can rewrite factory setting of that voice, but you can restore that whenever you want. You can factory rewrite, overwrite that voice with your setting. You can create user voice, or you can factory rewrite or overwrite that voice on factory location, and later you can restore. That is good. So we have plenty of options here. Now, as I mentioned, we have 3 voices. Let me go back again. An additional second voice. Okay, I'm always confused. 3 voices, additional second. Let me try to think on Ketron way. We have voice with 3 sounds and voice 2 with 1 sound. Now that is clear now. So please, if I make mistake and I mention this as a voices, those are not voices. Those are part of the voice. Those are sounds that are part of the voice. I wish that, like Cork called that combinations of voices, but they call that sounds, voices combination of the sounds. Okay. What is happening in Event? Event has two voices as well, like this guy. Just what I think. Now we have option that we have in voice 1 combination of 3 sounds, and in voice 2 combination of 3 sounds or number of the sounds. And I assume there is going to be some kind of linking between those two voices for right hand, so that we can link those two voices and have both combinations. What is number going to be about those combinations when we link them? I still don't know that, but I think that should be that idea. So voice 1 and 2 here, 3 voices and 1 voice. Presently, we can just add as a second voice just 1 instrument. If we engage it here or here, we can go there and we can choose 1 instrument. And usually what we choose as a second voice, we choose some pad or we choose some strings or something like this. That is our second voice presently. And we activate it when we need it, or we can control volume of second voice separately. Now, in this new Ketron event, those two voices will be just upgraded. That is general idea what is going to happen. Maybe both of them, they will have 3 sound. Maybe one of them will have 2 or 3. Now, number, it doesn't matter really at all. But it could be that idea that is happening in Ketron keyboard. So, 2 voices with combinations of the sounds that we can use. And it is just one improvement on this Ketron. Now, what do we have now in this Ketron presently? Let us go here, exit from here. Exit. Now, when we go here and we have 1 voice, let me go, am I on first page? We have 1 voice. I will go on second. No, I don't need to go. We have shift of that voice. We have tune of that voice. But those shiftings or those tunes is for whole voice, for every key on the keyboard. I did send a lot of letters to Korg and Yamaha through last 15 years to tell them that we need that function to be improved like in workstations. I think now, by reading manual, I don't have information, but by reading manual, so I think that we have finally the best ever options in Ketron for making intervals like thirds and other intervals, because they said in manual you can shift every just a moment, let me go to voice. They told us that we can shift every key separately in user scale, not like generally whole sound, in user scale. If we can shift 12 semitones in user scale on every note from the scale, then we got, for first time in history of all arrangers that exist in market, we got option to make perfect intervals. As I mentioned earlier, with -3 and -4 on first key, -5 on second key. That is very characteristic for Balkan music, very characteristic. A lot of intervals are like that. So we will have unlimited option in making intervals from any sound on the keyboard. If you have model that is allowing us to make user scale and save it separately, then actually we can change an instrument. So that is so powerful thing that you cannot imagine. For example, if you are making intervals in Yamaha Genus now through software, you have to make every interval and every sound for every interval. And it is connected to that sound that you made. In Korg world, if you are making thirds and other intervals, you can make them in ensemble mode and change instrument, but you have problem with pitch that is fixed on one key that is locked. Now, in Ketron world, now if I think we are getting this, because it says in manual, use every of those sounds you can have separate, you can make separate user scale, and it is saved only for that sound, not for others. And if we have 3 sounds for voice 1, we can have at the same time third and sixth, or third and octave that doesn't have any keyboard yet. And we can have as well as in second voice combinations. So combination, let us say, of 5 or 6 sounds that is going to be linked and so powerful that there is no arranger that has so much possibility to manipulate with sound combinations. That is going to be something really new and something really big for not only Ketron, for arranger world. But first time to put it in Ketron, it means a lot to Ketron. Now, those effects that we can control, those effects with those potentiometers that we have on right side of the keyboard, those worst effects. Now, what we will be able to control? Complete right hand or just one effect? We will see that. Whatever we can control, it will be great. Even if it's that one effect, it would give us option to make combination that with those live buttons, with manipulate thing to make controls with those effects, changing them, we will get a lot in performing. So now let me switch to this camera and let me tell you something about sampler. To have 3 GB of samples or 1.5 GB of samples is great. But do we really need so much? We need a lot, and we need decent amount of samples or multi-samples that we can make. Even we don't know is that going to be on event limited number of samples or unlimited number. We don't know yet. I was in my video, I was just guessing that if we have same story that is in SD90, I was guessing what is happening, what we will have, which possibility we will have. So let us stay with this guess that we will have 30 multi-samples or 31 or 33 or 34. Doesn't matter which number is that. If that number is around 30 and number of the samples inside 30, let us just guess that is going to be like that and compare to 1.5 GB or 3 GB of samples. First, as I mentioned, in Ketron, you don't need to sample drums. You saved some samples because they sounds great. You don't need to sample bass guitar. It sounds great. You need to sample your ethnic instrument. Number of 30 multi-samples is a very, very low number. So, and it should be improved. It should be improved, for example, in my opinion, to 60, at least to 60. With number of 60 multi-samples, I think it is minimum. It is actually something satisfying. Maybe 30 is minimum to survive. But 60, it will be good amount of multi-samples that we can use. Presently, as I mentioned last time, Ketron can have 44,100 Hertz samples, but they are mono. That is same story with Korg. In Korg, there are mono. Korg cannot load stereo samples. Only if you are using them for drum kits, they could be stereo. But if you are making multi-sample, they are mono. Same story. But what you can do in Korg you can put those multi-samples in different oscillators and you can imitate that you have more layers. You can do in Ketron that as well. I am doing that. You have 3 layers, but you are limited with 3 layers. Now with new Ketron event, we have 4 layers for multi-sample. And I think at least it is going to be 30 samples for each layer, 30 samples for each layer for multi-sample. So that is not so bad at all if it's 30 samples for each layer. Of course, we want to have for each key, but this story is not so bad. So, for example, one multi-sample can have 4 layers, 30 samples, so it is going to be 90 samples inside of that multi-sample. I guess we will get that. I don't know. I don't have those informations, but I think so that it sounds to me like logic. Now, if we have one multi-sample with 4 layers and we can combine them here, that means we can have 1, 2, 3 times 4 layers is 12 layers. So 3 multi-sample. Only what is not good there, we already spent on 3 multi-samples. We already, from that number of 30 multi-samples, we already have 3 multi-samples. That's why number of multi-samples, that is priority to increase. A number of samples, let us say we can leave it like for now for 30 samples in multi-sample. But number of multi-samples, that number should be increased. If that number is 30, we don't know yet that. We are just talking about information that we have an SD90 and assuming if they have it on event. If it's different story, then it's better. But if it's same story, I'm just manipulating what we can do, what we can use to get most of the keyboard. So number of multi-samples must be really, really increased. Number of the samples, we can keep it for now. We don't need to focus on that. We will survive that with that, and that number is okay. Just number of 8,000 and something samples, that is an important number as well, because that number is in connection with number of the samples that we can put inside of multi-sample. Because now, what we have now, we have 30 multi-samples and possibility for 30 samples inside of multi-sample. That is a number that we can get, or when we reach amount of many samples we can have, then that number could change. In reality, now, actually, with 30 multi-samples, you cannot have 30 samples inside of every multi-sample because number of samples is limited. So there are few limitations: number of the samples, number of the multi-samples, and number of the samples that I'm making multi-sample. Now that number of the memory or samples, 8,000, is increased. That is pretty good amount. That is changed. Number of samples, 30, we can survive. Number of multi-samples, that has to be changed to much higher number, 60 or more. So those are some thoughts, thinkings about what we should have in that keyboard. Now, excuse that Ketron is small company. There is a number of the people that are working there. Comparing to Yamaha or Genos doesn't matter anything, because sometimes small companies can make better stuff than big companies. Depends of how much they put effort in work, how much idea they have, and product that we have in front of us, what did we get, how it sounds, and what we can do with that product. So there is no excuse in that. So I believe that presently, let us forget about factory, how many employees the factory has and how big is that factory. Let us talk about sound. Let us talk about reality. What do we have in front of us? Ketron is leader together with Korg and with Yamaha. In our eyes, when we are seeing what we can get from Ketron and what we can hear from Ketron, especially what is coming out from Ketron, Ketron is big thing It is huge company. It is good sounding company, and it's something that is offering their customers high class of the sound and quality. Usability will be improved. So, I think for today it is going to be enough informations. So please subscribe. Thank you very much for watching my videos, and see you in my next video. Bye.